America's history, we were known to the world as a mass producer. In the wake of Pearl Harbor, the Japanese stated that they had awakened a sleeping giant. During the time of monopolies in the McKinley era, Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan built empires of Standard Oil and U.S. Steel. Yet over the years and the spark of globalization in the 1980s, America saw a drop in manufacturing power, shifting to other countries like Chile, China, India, and Egypt. Some people may say that U.S. is slowly falling apart, and outsourcing is their main point.
Okay, so we're in Walmart here to see what's really made outside the USA.
So after a couple hours at Walmart, we can honestly tell you guys that we found almost nothing that was made in the USA. There's a couple things like a picture frame or, just a little thing here and there, but everything was outsourced from China, Taiwan, Egypt. I mean, it's quite sad how we practically found almost nothing in an all-American store, as they, say, but I mean, it's really sad.
After experiencing globalization, the U.S. slowly gave out jobs. It is dropping at a severe level. Currently, in 2011 alone, almost 2.3 million jobs have been outsourced from the U.S. to other countries. Companies that you use every day, like your phone service provider, cable, or internet service, also outsource. So why do companies outsource? Outsourcing companies argue that it is much cheaper, helps manage time, and may help grow the business. Some companies that outsource include Apple, Microsoft, Dell, and Verizon. Yet on the other hand, less renowned companies like Farouk, C-Smart Inc., and Chesapeake Bay Candle Company argue that simply will be more expensive and risky. There is a lack of quality control, and more people are willing to buy products manufactured in the home country, including when the price is slightly higher.
So what is outsourcing?
Outsourcing is when private companies send certain parts of their production process overseas to be done for cheaper.
If exporting increases more rapidly than importing, how do you see the job market in 10, 20, or 30
You mean
years?
like exporting of jobs?
Yeah.
Or export, okay, I couldn't understand that. Well, obviously, if we send more jobs overseas than we bring in, we have a real problem, because we're going to continually have more unemployment.
So would insourcing solve problems like unemployment and the deficit?
Obviously, if we were able to do something that convinced people to come back to the United States to create jobs, it would create jobs, reduce unemployment, and that would reduce the deficit. But we have to do it in a way that encourages people to come and do their business rather than making a law that says they can't do what they want to do.
Okay.
The problem here is a very complex one. We can try to pass laws that simply state that companies can outsource because they will just leave the country. We need to create a safer, more environmentally stable location for business to open up shops. Things like unemployment benefits, disability benefits, and other things that make businesses have to pay more and in which turn makes them leave. This doesn't mean that things are bad, but other countries have the social part of the economy settled down, which means it's cheaper for all business that relocates there. If outsourcing is solved, problems like unemployment are nearly non-existing. The deficit because of taxpayers and the standard of living goes up. There are realistic solutions to this, and fixing outsourcing will make all of the problems to a speck of the dust.
And I hear about jobs leaving New York and leaving America and going overseas. And then there's some talk as this is inexorable. It is not inexorable. And that's what we're here to say tonight. We can do something to stop this. And stop it we must.
During the 1940s, the U.S. exported nearly $2 billion more worth of goods than it exported. Still, the U.S. exports slowly declined as U.S. imports increased, as shown in graph. The 1970s to 1980s showed an ongoing balance and later saw a sharp decline in exported goods, while imported goods skyrocketed. Currently, imported goods are way above exported goods in the market. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, exports from 2001 were $9.2 billion. Exports in 2011 were $104 billion. Imports nearly quadrupled as imports were $102 billion, and 10 years later, it was nearly $400 billion. At this rate, we will get nowhere. There are many solutions to outsourcing, yet to cater on the U.S. specific needs are quite difficult, but not impossible. Due to the overwhelming amount of benefits the businesses wouldn't like to pay. A possible solution is simply for Congress to eliminate benefits, except that wouldn't exactly fall too well on all of its constituents. A completely realistic solution is handing the job of benefits to someone other than the businesses, similar to the Gantt Plan. The Gantt Plan is a plan in other countries where a labor union gives out the benefits. Also, smaller things like giving tax breaks to companies who do insource would in turn get more taxpayers. Once companies come back, jobs will be at a surplus.
Outsourcing takes jobs out of hard-working American citizens. The outcome of outsourcing leads to high unemployment and less taxpayers. Our position in fixing this would be passing legislative actions such as increasing taxes on companies that outsource, give tax breaks to companies that don't, and promote the general idea of bringing back jobs. To anybody who is listening to this, we recommend that you do the best of your ability to counteract outsourcing. You can do this by every once in a while buying all American goods instead of outsourced products. Talk to your fellow congressmen and congresswomen about passing legislative action and do anything else possible to help.